TikTok made me think that it would be a fun idea to go to the local thrift store and get a random doll in hopes that it was haunted. Who doesn't want a friend that isn't physically taking space? Let me start by saying this all happened when I was 29. There is a girl on TikTok who buys haunted dolls, and I think she may have started a movement cause after I first saw her video. I started to see a lot more people doing the same thing, except they would go to thrift stores. I told my then girlfriend if we should try it, and she agreed and said it might be fun. We went and looked for the creepiest glass doll. It was the mission, and we found it. Glass vintage doll with curled dirty blonde hair, light purple dress, and a deep purple cape thing with ice skates in one hand. She has little boots on, and honestly, I just wanted it because of how cute it was. Well, $15 later we were home and getting ready to clean the doll. I took off her cape and she had a little sack tied to her arm tucked in by her armpit. Weird, but whatever, it looked like it was a coin pack for her. We took it off her and put it on the side along with her clothes and other items and started to wash everything. My girlfriend was in charge of washing her with a sponge and some soap in the sink, and this is where the first odd thing happened. There was nothing in the sink, nothing on the counter, and no glass in the sponge. She somehow ended up slicing her hand. We checked the doll to see if she was broken or cracked, but she was in perfect condition. And it wasn't a tiny cut. We had to go to a quick care in our area to get it stitched up. The doctor was both confused and concerned, but he let us go. Okay. When we got home, she went to the sofa to take a nap since she was drained from the event. I started to cook dinner and the doll was in a sitting position on the edge of the sink, but I remember she was laying down in the sink and had blood on her from the cut. I was going to ask my girlfriend if she moved her, but she was snoring. I let it go. I have a gas stove, and when you turn it on, it does these little clicks, click, click, and then the fire would come out. Well, this time it was taking longer than normal. I tried starting it once, then twice, and the second time the fire blew up and I screamed. I thought the apartment was going to catch on fire, but then the fire went down to a low fire. My girlfriend woke up and yelled at me in a way she never has before, but then apologized and said she didn't mean it. She was tired and exhausted. I told her I completely understood, and the night went on. I had a scary dream that night. It was long, but for some reason I couldn't remember it. The only thing I remember was running from something, and then I was in total darkness. Just pitch black, and I tripped on something, fell face first into water. When I woke up, the bed was soaked, but it was clear, so I didn't pee. Did I sweat that much? I walked out with the wet sheets to put them in the washer and saw my girlfriend just standing in the middle of the hallway. The conversation went a little like this. Holy sure, VE. You scared the crap out of me. Why did you run? Huh? Why did you run? You weren't supposed to run. Run from what? I just woke up and the bed is all. What? Yeah, I saw. Always making a mess of everything, and then you fell flat on your face and busted your lip. My lip? My lips isn't. The pain I felt after that was insane, like something I never really felt before. When I touched it, I was bleeding. I went to the bathroom and yup, it was busted open. I walked out and she was gone. I went to the room to get shirt to use for my lip and she was sleeping again. I shook her and she acted like she just woke up for the first time. When she saw my face, she shot up and asked what happened. Who are we fighting? It was her, my V, not what was talking to me in the hallway. When I told her, she looked terrified. She said that she was asleep the whole time. Well, she thought she was. She doesn't remember ever leaving the bed, but she does feel exhausted. She doesn't know why cause she's been sleeping since she got home from getting her stitches. I told her it was fine and that she should call out. She disagreed and got ready for work. She always left before me. I had an hour to kill before I had to leave, so I was in the laundry room getting everything in the washer when I heard a loud thud in the kitchen. I popped my head out thinking it was V. I asked what she forgot and all I got was silence. Worried, I walked out to check if she fell or something, but everything was fine. Nothing was moved or broken, so I thought maybe it was the neighbors. Once it was time to leave, I was looking for my keys. I always hang them, but they weren't in their normal spot. I looked for a good 15 minutes, and when I turned to the kitchen, I was the doll sitting on the sink again, but this time clothed and her hand out holding my keys. Odd, but cute, I thought. Maybe V was just trying to play around. I said thank you to the doll and left. Nothing happened for 2 days. We set up a nice little spot on the bookshelf for the doll and gave her the name of Adele. Why? No idea. She looked like she could have lungs of a queen. Well, one night my girlfriend was cooking and I was playing a game on my computer. She cussed out something and walked out of the kitchen, pissed. Looked at me and asked if I wanted to fight, and then looked at the doll and said she'll bop her too. We were laughing and she told me she burned herself. While I looked at her hand, the doll just fell. We looked at it and then I picked it up to put it back, but it felt a little squishy like it was made of meat. I freaked out and dropped it. My girlfriend picked it up and told me to be careful with it because it's glass. When she picked it up, the bookshelf was about to fall on her, so I jumped on it and stopped it. A couple of books fell on her and hit her shoulder. We pushed it back together and we pulled it out because we had it secured. We live in an area where hurricanes are common, and when they happen the apartments shake a bit. But when we pulled it, it looked like the nails were carefully screwed out. They weren't yanked out, you would be able to tell. No, it looked like it was carefully with a gun screwed out. She had a bad bruise already forming. She looked at the doll that was on the floor again and kicked it. I know, horrible thing to do even if it wasn't haunted. The fire from the stove started to blare up after that and the whole kitchen was in flames. She ran out to get the fire extinguisher and put it out. The neighbors came running too to see if they could help. Luckily the fire was put out quickly, but unluckily we had to pack up and move to another unit because of the damages. It was a temporary thing, but still. That night we had a huge fight while we were moving a couple of items to the new place. I don't remember what started it. All I remember was after screaming for so long that the new neighbors called the cops. When they came in, they saw just a mess. A girl with a busted lip, another girl with a band-aid hand and a new bruise on her shoulder, and arrested us both. We explained everything to them, from the hospital visit to waking up like this and the bookshelf almost falling on her while she was picking something up. They held us the entire night, but we were finally released in the morning. We walked out together and laughed. How insane this week has been. But it didn't stop. When we would be out of the house, it was great. But when we would be home, it was just a heavy feeling. A couple of weeks passed by and only small things happened, like lights being turned on and off, knocking on the walls, and random thuds. We moved back into our apartment and things felt a little better. A lot better, actually. That was until the property manager came to drop off a box we had left. I thanked him, and when I opened it, it was the doll with all her stuff. I was a little frustrated that it was left, but I don't know why I was mad. I didn't really care for it. It was something I wanted as a joke and then forgot about it. I went into the room and asked her why she left the doll at the other place. She just looked at me, looked at the doll, and then ignored me. We went to sleep mad that night. At 3 a.m. there was a pounding at the door. We both jolted up and sat in bed for a second to see if we both just imagined it. Then again loud pounding. We got up and then heard that it was the police. We opened the door and they had their guns drawn at us and told us to step out and to lay on the floor. We asked what was happening and they told us to shut up and not to talk. I think like 8 SWAT people and cops went in. I was so confused, but I told them they have no right to go into our home like that. All we heard was our apartment being trashed. They came out and asked us where we're hiding the people. What people? After what felt like forever, they finally told us that they got several calls about our apartment. There were sounds of loud thuds, scratches, foul smells, and screaming. I told them that we're really quiet people and that we thought the smell was coming from the drains. It's true there was a strong smell, but we couldn't find the source. So we started lighting candles. They said that people have recorded the screaming and it was chilling. Even though my hairs are standing. The recording sounded like something from a movie. It didn't sound like it was real, but the video showed our door and it got louder. There was another video of someone recording from the parking lot and it looked like there was a skinny tall lady with curls walking around while we were sleeping. They've been collecting for days until they finally got the okay to search our home. I sounded like women and a child were being tortured. We were released, but that was the second time I was in a police station. I got called into my boss's office and he told me that he can't risk someone who is in and out of police custody working for the firm. Even though I was innocent and I had proof, I still lost my job. I went home early and cried. My girlfriend came home at her normal time and I told her what happened. She's been cold for a while at this time, but this was beyond. She looked at me and said, "Great, not only are you a loser but a bum too. We've been together for 5 years and she's never been this mean." I got up and looked at the bookcase because that is where we had a few photos of us and family, and the doll had her hand up to her mouth as if she was laughing. I finally tapped out. I had to leave. I told my brother what was happening and he told me that I could move in with him until I got back on my feet. Gotta love family sometimes. Well, when I got off the phone, I made sure that V was still out before I started looking for my luggage. She was lucky and I started shoving some clothes and a few of my valuables. I was going to take the computer and electronics the day I would leave with some friends so she doesn't catch on. Now I do have to say this really quick, which I forgot to mention because the story is already extremely long and it isn't even half of the things that has happened. The reason I was leaving quietly is because she started to get aggressive and clingy when I've brought up leaving. She would get this dead look in her eyes that made it seem as if she wanted to kill me. Then there were nights that I would wake up because I felt a creepy feeling, and when I would open my eyes, V would be standing hovering over me, then tell me that she would catch me and make sure I never got away. A few hours later, after the call to my brother, there was a knock in the house. It came in taps of 3, but the knock sounded tiny and kind of fragile. I started looking around because it wouldn't stop. I tried ignoring it, but it wouldn't stop, and it felt like it was in my head. Now I felt like I was going insane. I finally got to the bookcase and finally heard it clearer. The doll was facing basically the wall of the bookcase and her back was to me. She was sitting, but her hand was up and it was in a fist. How did a glass doll clench her hand? Her hat was always straight, you could see her palms. I freaked out and put it back, but when I did, the little coin bag that was tied around her arm weeks ago fell. I picked it up and felt something hard in it. Like pebbles. So I opened it and it was teeth. It was teeth and hair and I think some eyelashes. I screamed and then boom. A thud so loud I felt the whole place move. It felt like an earthquake and a tsunami was happening all at the same time because it was so loud I couldn't think. I was on the floor holding my head because I felt sick. I thought it was the end of the world. I thought I was going to die. I started to throw up and then I ended up knocking out for who knows how long. When I woke up still on the floor, V was cooking. I got up and looked at her with tears in my eyes. I asked if we were dead. And if she felt anything. She served me a plate of food and said, "Try to leave and you will be." I nodded and went to sleep. I woke up the next morning and left. No suitcase or anything. I said I was heading out for a jog around the park and I didn't go back. I went to a friend's and then eventually my brother's, and we got a sheriff to go with me to the apartment to get my things. It's been weeks since I left. When we got in, all my stuff was there, everything was. Except V and the doll.